They say a lion fears no creature in the forest, but there is one thing that can destroy a lion: his own cub grown hungry for power. Have you ever loved someone so much that you refuse to see the truth about them? Have you ever given everything to someone only to have them turn against you? What would you do if the person you trusted most in the world wanted to take everything from you? Can a father raise his sword against his own son? Can a king choose between his throne and his child? And when the choice is made, can a man's heart survive it? This is the story of King Adeyemi, the greatest ruler our land had ever known. A man who defeated armies, who united warring tribes, who brought peace to a broken land. Yet in the end, it was not an enemy's sword that brought him to his knees. It was his son. And the question that haunts this story is the one that haunts all of us. How do you fight someone you cannot bear to lose? King Adeyemi had everything a man could want. He ruled the kingdom of Ile-Olua, which stretched from the great river to the distant mountains. He had defeated his enemies in battle, he had brought peace to his people, and he had many children who would carry on his name. But there was one son who stood above all the others: Folarin. Everyone agreed Folarin was the most handsome man in the entire kingdom. When he walked through the market, women stopped their work to stare. When he spoke in council, even the oldest chiefs leaned forward to listen. His smile could light up a room. His voice was smooth like honey. "Your son will make a great king one day," people told Adeyemi. The king would smile and nod, but deep in his heart, something worried him. One evening, Adeyemi sat under the big baobab tree in his courtyard, watching his children play. His oldest friend, Taiwo, came to sit beside him. "You look troubled, my king," Taiwo said. "Do you see Folarin?" Adeyemi pointed to where his son stood, surrounded by his younger brothers. "Look how they all gather round him. Look how they hang on his every word. He is a natural leader." "Yes," Adeyemi said slowly, "but I've seen that look in his eyes before. I saw it in a lion once, circling an old elephant, patient, waiting, hungry." "You think he wants your throne?" "I think he loves the idea of being king more than he loves being my son." Taiwo was quiet for a moment. "What will you do?" "Nothing," Adeyemi sighed. "He is my blood. What kind of father moves against his own son based on a feeling?" It was a decision the king would regret for the rest of his life. Folarin didn't start a war overnight. No, he was too clever for that. He began slowly, like a snake moving through grass. Every morning, Folarin woke up early and went to the city gate. This was where people came to ask the king for help with their problems. A farmer whose neighbor stole his goat, a woman whose husband wouldn't pay her bride price back, a merchant cheated by a corrupt official. Folarin would stop them before they reached the palace. "My friend," he would say, putting his hand on the farmer's shoulder, "your problem is serious. You deserve justice. But I must tell you the truth. My father's court is very slow. His advisors are old men who don't understand your struggles." Then he would sigh and shake his head sadly. "If only I were the one making decisions, I would make sure everyone gets fair treatment quickly. I wouldn't make you wait for months." Day after day he did this, week after week, month after month. The people started to talk. "Did you see how Folarin listened to me? He really cares. The prince wakes up early just to help us. When was the last time the king did that? If Folarin were king, things would be different." The king's daughter, Princess Adesua, noticed what was happening. She was smart, smarter than most of her brothers. One evening, she went to her father's room. "Father, we need to talk about Folarin." "What about him?" Adeyemi was looking at reports from the provinces. "He's stealing your kingdom right in front of your eyes." The king looked up sharply. "What do you mean?" "Every morning at the gate. Haven't you noticed? He tells people you're too old, too slow, too out of touch. He makes promises about what he would do if he were king. Father, he's turning your people against you." Adeyemi put down his papers. His hands were shaking slightly. "Are you sure?" "I have ears everywhere. Your son is planning something, father. You need to stop him before it's too late." The king was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was sad. "He's my son, Adesua, my firstborn. Maybe he just wants to help the people. Maybe I'm seeing problems where there aren't any. Father, I will not move against my own child based on rumors." Adeyemi's voice rose, then fell. "He is my blood. I cannot." Adesua looked at her father and saw the truth. The great king who had fought wars and defeated enemies couldn't fight his own love for his son. That love was going to destroy him. She bowed and left the room, her heart heavy with worry.
4 years passed. Folarin was now 30 years old, and half the kingdom loved him more than they loved the king. One day, Folarin came before his father in the great hall. "Father," Folarin said, bowing low, "I have a request." "Speak, my son." "Many years ago, when you brought me back from my exile, I made a promise to the ancestors. I promised that I would make a big sacrifice in the town of Hebari, where my mother's family lives. Father, please let me go and keep my promise." Adeyemi remembered those difficult years when Folarin had been sent away for a crime he committed as a young man. His heart softened. "Go, my son, go in peace and keep your promise to the ancestors." Adesua, standing nearby, whispered urgently, "Father, no. Hebari is where his mother's people live. They are loyal to him, not to you. This isn't about a promise." But Folarin was already leaving, and the king waved his daughter's concerns away. Folarin didn't go to Hebari to make sacrifices. He went to start a war. He sent secret messengers to every part of the kingdom with this message: "When you hear the war drums, shout, 'Folarin is now king in Hebari.'" He invited 200 important men from the capital to come with him. They came innocently, thinking they were going to a religious ceremony. They had no idea they were about to be part of a rebellion. But the most important person Folarin invited was old Ahitophel. Ahitophel was King Adeyemi's chief counselor. When Ahitophel spoke, people said it was like the gods themselves were speaking. He was that wise. For many years, he had served King Adeyemi faithfully. But Ahitophel was now old, and he felt forgotten. Younger men were getting the honors and positions he thought he deserved. Bitterness had grown in his heart like a poison plant. When Folarin asked him, "Will you help me become king?" Ahitophel had to choose. He looked at the young prince, so full of fire and confidence. He thought about his own fading influence in the king's court. He thought about the respect he wasn't getting anymore. "Yes," Ahitophel said, "I will help you, and with my wisdom you will win." When the war drum sounded across the land, the message spread like wildfire. Folarin has declared himself king in Hebari. In the palace, a messenger burst into the king's bedroom in the middle of the night. "My lord," he gasped, "your son has rebelled. He has an army, and Ahitophel is with him." Adeyemi sat up in bed. His world was falling apart. "How many support him?" "Thousands, my king, maybe tens of thousands. The people's hearts are turning to him." For the first time in his life, King Adeyemi felt real fear.
Adeyemi called his most trusted warriors and advisors to his room. In the lamplight, they saw something they had never seen before. Their king was afraid. "We have to leave," Adeyemi said. "We have to leave now, tonight." "My king," protested Taiwo, "we have loyal soldiers. We can defend the city. You are the rightful king." "And Folarin is my son," Adeyemi's voice broke. "Don't you understand? If we stay and fight, this city will be destroyed. My son knows all our defenses, all our secrets. And I cannot kill my own child. I won't. We leave tonight." "But my king," "I will not make this city a grave for my son or for me. We run." And so, in the darkest part of the night, King Adeyemi left his palace. He walked barefoot as a sign of mourning. He put ash on his head. Behind him came his household, his wives, his loyal children, his warriors. 600 fighting men followed their king into exile. The people of Ile-Oluwa came out to watch. Many of them cried to see the great King Adeyemi brought so low, running from his own son. Adesuwa walked beside her father, also barefoot. "You should have listened to me," she said quietly. "You should have stopped him when you had the chance." "Yes, Adeyemi said simply. Tears ran down his ash-covered face. But what father wants to believe his own son wants him dead? As they were leaving the city, an old man came running up. His name was Hushai, and he was another of the king's counselors. He was known for being very clever. My king, Hushai had torn his clothes and put dirt on his head. Let me come with you. No, Adeyemi said, thinking quickly. Go back to the city. When Folarin arrives, tell him you want to serve him now. Pretend to be on his side. But why, my king? Because Ahitophel is with my son, and Ahitophel's advice is too good. If you are there, you can argue against his advice. You can confuse things. You can buy me time to prepare. Hushai understood. He bowed and turned back to the city. They reached the river Omifunke as the sun was rising. Adeyemi turned to look back at his capital city, beautiful in the morning light. Will I ever see you again? He whispered. No one had an answer. Folarin entered Ile Olua riding a white horse. Some people cheered, some people stayed silent. Everyone watched.
He went straight to the palace and sat on his father's throne. The people who had followed him shouted, "Long live King Folarin!" Then Hushai came forward and bowed very low. "Long live the king! Long live the king!" Folarin looked at him suspiciously. "You were my father's friend, his loyal counselor. Why do you come to me now?" Hushai answered carefully. "Should I not serve the one the people have chosen? I served your father. Now I will serve his son." The answer pleased Folarin. He accepted Hushai into his inner circle. Old Ahitophel came forward with advice. "My king, there's something you must do to show everyone you are serious, something that will prove there's no going back." "What is it?" "Your father left some of his wives here to take care of the palace. Go to them. Sleep with them where everyone can see. When you do this, everyone will know that you and your father can never make peace. Those who follow you will be brave, knowing there's no turning back." It was terrible advice. It was cruel and shameful. But Folarin, drunk on his new power and wanting to show he feared nothing, did it. They set up a tent on the palace roof where everyone could see, and there Folarin did something that went against every law of family and decency. Some people cheered, thinking their new king was strong and fearless, but many others turned away in disgust. They whispered among themselves that a man who would do such a thing would do anything. Later, in the council meeting, Ahitophel spoke again. "My king, let me choose 12,000 men tonight. I'll go after your father right now, while he's tired and weak. I'll kill only him, just the king. Then I'll bring all his people back to you peacefully. One man dies instead of thousands." The plan was smart. The other councillors nodded in agreement. If they moved fast, the war would be over in days. But then Folarin said, "Wait, let's hear what Hushai thinks too." Hushai stood up. He knew he had to make Ahitophel's good plan sound bad, and his own bad plan sound good. "The advice Ahitophel gave is not good this time," Hushai said with passion. "Think about it, my king. Your father is a warrior. He's fought in more battles than any of us. Do you really think he's sleeping out in the open with his troops? No, he's hiding in some cave right now, planning his revenge. If you send 12,000 men and your father ambushes them and kills even a few, people will panic. They'll say, Folarin's army is being slaughtered. Even your bravest soldiers will lose courage because everyone knows your father is a great fighter. Here's what I think you should do instead. Gather every fighting man from the whole kingdom, so many that they are like sand on the beach. Then you yourself lead them into battle. You, my king, you at the front. When we find your father, we'll surround him completely. He won't have a chance. Neither he nor any of his men will survive." It was a terrible plan. It gave Adeyemi time to gather his own army and prepare. But Folarin was young and vain. He loved the image of himself at the head of a huge army, winning glory in battle. "Hushai's advice is better," Folarin declared. Ahitophel sat in silence. He knew in that moment that the cause was lost. If his advice had been followed, Adeyemi would be dead within 2 days, and Folarin would rule unchallenged. But now time would work against them. That night, Ahitophel went home, arranged his affairs, and hanged himself. He chose death over the shame of having his advice rejected, and overseeing the defeat he knew was coming. 3 months passed. Adeyemi used the time well. Warriors came to him from every corner of the kingdom, some because they loved their king, some because they hated Folarin's arrogance, and some because they believed children should respect their fathers. Princess Adisuwa proved to be invaluable. She organized the camp, made sure the warriors had food, and kept her father's spirits up when he felt hopeless.
Finally, Adeyemi's army numbered 30,000 men. He divided them into 3 groups under his best commanders, Taiwo, Joab, and Abishai. "I will fight with you," Adeyemi said. "No, my king," Taiwo said firmly. "You are worth 10,000 of us. If we have to retreat, you need to be safe so you can gather more warriors. Stay in the city. Let us fight." Reluctantly, Adeyemi agreed. But as the warriors were about to march out, he called his commanders together. He spoke loudly so everyone could hear. "Be gentle with my son Folarin, for my sake." The warriors heard and were confused. How could they win a battle while trying to protect the enemy's leader? But they understood this was a father's heart speaking, not a king's mind. The battle happened in the Forest of Iroko. This was a place of huge trees and dangerous ground, full of hidden ravines and thick undergrowth. Folarin led his army into the forest, 50,000 men, confident they would win because of their numbers. But numbers meant nothing in that forest. Adeyemi's warriors, fewer but more experienced, used the forest to their advantage. They attacked from hiding, disappeared into the trees, and attacked again. The forest itself seemed to fight against Folarin's army. Men got separated from their units, fell into ravines, got shot by arrows they never saw coming. 20,000 of Folarin's men died that day. Many didn't die by the sword. They died because they got lost, or fell, or were trampled by their own panicking soldiers. Folarin was riding his horse through the battle when he ran into a group of his father's veterans. He turned his horse to run, riding hard under the branches of a huge Iroko tree. But his head, covered with elaborate braids and golden ornaments that marked him as royalty, got caught in the thick branches. His horse kept running, and Folarin was left between heaven and earth, helpless. A soldier saw him and ran to find Joab, one of the commanders. "Sir, I saw the king's son hanging in a tree." "You saw him?" Joab demanded. "Why didn't you kill him? I would have given you 10 pieces of silver and a warrior's belt." "Even if you gave me 1,000 pieces of silver, I wouldn't touch the king's son. We all heard the king command you to protect Folarin." But Joab didn't care about the king's command. He took 3 spears and drove them through Folarin's heart while he still hung alive in the tree. Then 10 of Joab's men surrounded Folarin and finished killing him. The battle was over. Joab blew the trumpet to signal retreat, and what was left of Folarin's army ran in every direction, each man running home. The rebellion was finished. They brought the news to Adeyemi as he sat between the inner and outer gates of the city, waiting. A messenger came running. "Victory, my king! The enemy is defeated!" But Adeyemi didn't care about victory. He grabbed the messenger's arm. "Is my son safe? Is Folarin alive?" The messenger's face fell. He knew he was carrying terrible news. "My king, may all your enemies be like that young man." Adeyemi understood immediately. His son was dead. The king stood up slowly, like an old man. He climbed the stairs to the room above the gate, and there, alone, he began to cry. Everyone below could hear him. His voice carried across the courtyard, raw with pain. "Oh, my son Folarin, my son Folarin, I wish I had died instead of you. Oh, Folarin, my son, my son." The victory celebration died in everyone's throats. The warriors had won a great battle, but their king was in mourning. They came back into the city quietly, ashamed, not like heroes returning from war. Finally, old Taiwo had enough. He went up to the king and spoke harshly. Only an old friend could speak this way. "Today you have shamed all your men who just saved your life. They saved your wives and children, but you act like you wish they had all died and Folarin had lived. Your commanders and soldiers mean nothing to you.
Now get up, go down there and encourage your men, because I swear, if you don't, not one of them will stay with you by nightfall, and that will be worse than anything that has happened to you in your entire life." The words were hard, but they were true. Adeyemi washed his face, put on his royal robes, and went to sit at the gate. When the warriors heard the king was there, they came to him. He thanked them for their loyalty. He honored their bravery. He did what a king should do. But that night, alone in his room, Adeyemi cried again. He had kept his throne, but at what cost? His counselor Ahitophel had killed himself. His son Folarin was dead and buried. His family was broken. His honor was stained by what Folarin had done to his wives. "What does it profit a man," he whispered to the darkness, "to gain a kingdom if he loses his son?"
In the years that followed, King Adeyemi ruled wisely and well. He rebuilt what had been broken. He brought justice to his people. Princess Adesua became his chief counselor, and her wisdom guided the kingdom to prosperity. But those who knew the king well could see that something in him had died in the Forest of Iroko. He would often climb to the roof of the palace at sunset and look toward the town of Hebari, where his son had first rebelled against him. And if you listened carefully, you could hear him whisper, "Folarin, my son, the end." The storytellers still sing this tale around fires in the evening. They sing of a king who conquered enemies but could not conquer his own heart, of a father's love that was both his greatest strength and his deepest weakness. They sing it as a warning that power without wisdom leads to ruin, that ambition without honor destroys families, and that the wounds we give to those we love cut deeper than any sword. King Adeyemi learned what many learned too late. You can win a throne with a sword, but a father's heart can only be broken by his own blood.